Let's, I need to press the button. There we go. Right. Okay, I'm just going to close this camera. And everyone should be looking at the Evans iPhone screen. So with anatomy, of course, now my voice starts going. The basic thing that a lot of you would be using to draw, or everyone starts with, it doesn't mean a lot of you are still doing that, but everyone starts with a stick figure, which is just a circle head, line for a body, legs, arms like that. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. We want to advance this. We want to go to the next step. So instead of a circular head, we want to think more about a skeleton. So if you've got access to Google as well, or another screen or something, just Google human skeleton and look at the bones, because that's basically what we draw. So for the head, we have the skull, which is where the brain is. And then we have the jaw, which is the bottom part where we talk. It's where our mouth is and our bottom teeth. The skull has our top teeth. So instead of drawing just round heads, we're going to be drawing heads like this, and then dividing them in half and in half again to find out where the eyes go and that kind of thing. So we're not just going to draw circles for heads, we're going to draw proper human heads. It's a bit different if you were drawing cartoon characters. You can still draw round heads for those, or weird shaped heads. But I want to teach you correct human anatomy, because it's very important to learn those the fundamentals and the basics that way, and then you can break the rules. We always say you have to learn the rules, but you learn the rules so you can then break the rules when it comes to drawing. So back to this stick figure, it has a line down the middle, which we still want to keep that line, because that is basically the spine. So the line that runs down the back of your body is your spine. And then we can start breaking this up. So we don't just have a flat, skinny body like that. Our arms don't come off our spine. We have a rib cage, which is sort of like a semicircle kind of shape. And that's where our ribs are, and our heart's in there, and our lungs are up in there. Then as we come down, and our arms too, they don't come off there, they come off our shoulders, which are up here. I will go over this step by step later on, just sort of quickly going over it now. And then from the shoulders, we have our arms, which are bent in two, they're not just straight. Then we have our hand with our fingers. And even our fingers, they're not just straight like that. We have bends in our fingers. There's actually 3 joints, 1, 2, 3 in each of our fingers. Even our thumb has 3. There's 1, 2, and then there's a third one. Yeah. Okay, so under the ribs in here, we have our legs. Our legs don't come off from our spine. They come from our pelvis. You can just put a sort of a rectangle in for that. And then our hips are on either side of that. And our legs come down from that. So you can see the difference already. Like if you could, stick figures are fine, but this is going to let you draw a few more different poses and things like that. So halfway down the legs, we have the knees, and then the feet, sort of triangle shapes like that. It's got very short legs, it's not really in proportion, but that's basically an advanced stick figure. It's like almost like a skeleton. Now, if you do look at a skeleton, you'll see that there's 1 bone in the upper arm, 1 bone in the upper leg or the thigh. There's 2 bones in the forearm, and there's 2 bones in the shin. Now, most things in our world, animals and people, are built on this skeleton, that you just sort of move it around a bit. So if you can learn this skeleton, you can learn to draw wings, you can learn to draw horses, you can learn to draw dogs and cats, birds, sort of fish. Fish are a little bit different. Reptiles, all those kind of things all use this skeleton or versions of this skeleton. And then you can even use the skeleton to make monsters like a centaur, where it's got half a human body and then half a horse body. So you can fuse two skeletons together and stuff like that. And we'll do a bit of that as the weeks go on. But first things first, let's focus on the head. So I'm just going to get a clean piece of paper. You can use the other side of a piece of paper, or if you're using a book or something like that, just use a different section. So first thing we want to do for drawing a head is draw a circle. It doesn't have to be perfect. And see how I'm doing a very sketchy and light. Just doing a sketch, 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 sketch. It's not a perfect circle. There's lots of lines in there I'm not going to use. But that's just how I'm going to get a circle. It doesn't have to be perfect. And it doesn't matter if you make a mistake. You can rub it out. I don't always rub out my mistakes. Sometimes I just leave them there. But the only way you're going to learn is by making mistakes. So don't get upset if you make a mistake, because it's fine. We just learn from it and we move on. So has everyone got their circle? Thumbs up if you got it. Yep, a couple of thumbs up there. And the next step I'm going to do is sort of draw a line through the middle. How big? Someone just asked, Jaden just asked, how big should you draw the circle? Draw it fairly big, not huge on the page, but I'll show you my page. So that's my page there. So it's pretty big. It's not tiny, because we're going to draw a face in here. So we want it to be big enough to draw eyes and things like that. So this line I drew through, I want it to continue it down past the circle, because we're going to add in the jawbone. This is the cranium. So if you sort of put your hands on the side of your head, it's the bit of your head that has your eyes and your nose and your top teeth, your ears. That's your cranium. Your brain's inside there. The other bit we're going to draw underneath here is the jaw. So when you open and close your mouth, that is your jaw. So your jaw has your tongue and your lower teeth in it. So to find the jaw, sometimes people measure. So you could do a third. So if you broke this into 3, so find a third like that. I'm measuring it with my fingers, and then I'm going to bring it down and mark where that is. Some people do it that way. Some people just go, oh, you know, that looks good. This looks good. Depends on the kind of thing you're drawing. But I usually go roughly a third. So this is going to be where the chin is. I'll just zoom out a little bit. So that's where the chin is going to be. And we want the face to be symmetrical, which means the same on each side. So I'm going to bring the side of the head in a little bit on an angle, and then from the chin back like that. So it's roughly the same angle. And see how it already looks sort of like a head or a face. Now, depending on the kind of person that you're drawing and their facial features, you might draw someone, I'll just do some more over here. You might draw someone that has a really wide, square chin, you know, like that. Or someone that has a very pointed chin. And maybe they don't have these jaw bits at all. They sort of look like an ice cream cone. So there's different ways of drawing it. This is just sort of a basic way. They could have sort of big cheekbones as well in there, which we'll come to in a second. And maybe a big pointy chin sticking out. So there's lots of different ways to change this, but I want to show you just sort of an average way of doing it. Okay, so now we have our bottom and our top. I want you to find halfway. You could measure it if you really wanted to. But I just eyeball it, which means I just look at it and go, that's about halfway. And I put a line in. So it doesn't matter because it's going to change. If however big you did your chin, if you did it really small, then the middle's going to be different. If you did your chin really big, the middle's going to be different. But as long as that's sort of halfway through, and then on either side of the line, so from the middle to this side, I find halfway. From the middle to this side, I'll find halfway. Again, just roughly, and I put a little dot in there, and that's going to show me where the middle of the eyes are. So that's going to be my eye placements are in there. Now, I'm just going to rub out the bottom part of this circle. Normally I wouldn't, but I'm just rubbing it out so it's a bit clearer for you guys to see, because we're going to put in a few more marks to show where different features are. So has everyone done that? We've got their eye placements, we've got our cranium, we've got our jaw. So the next thing we're going to draw is, or put a marker in, is for the underside of the nose. And that's halfway between the halfway mark and the chin. So we find halfway again, it's about there. And that's going to be, I'm just going to put like a little arrow kind of shape or curve. That's the bottom of the nose, like the underside of the nose. And then the next little line we're going to do is find halfway between the nose and the chin, roughly there, and just above that is where the mouth is going to be. So I'm just going to put in a small line. So we can already see sort of a face in there, can't we? And if you wanted your face to look a little more rounded, you don't have to do quite big angles here. You can sort of just come up and curve it a bit more like that, make it a bit softer. It depends on the time of the face. Usually they say a more angular face like that is more masculine, so meaning it's more of a male face, but it's not necessarily true. Some men have very rounded faces, some women have very angular faces. Everyone's different. So I'm just sort of making it a little bit smaller. So I don't really want to draw something that's going to be male or female. I'm just trying to draw a basic face. See how mine doesn't quite match up? It's a bit weird, it's a bit off center. Most faces aren't symmetrical anyway. They're asymmetrical, which means they're different on each side. But that is the basic structure for a face. So let's put some details in. We still need to figure out where the ears are going to go and eyebrows and stuff like that. Let's zoom in to the eye. Now, before we go and draw some of that, if you imagine a skeleton, they usually have these big eye sockets and its nose, and then you see the teeth like that. That big eye socket, the big hole, that's because our eye is actually a sphere. It's a ball. That's why it's called an eyeball. So it's round like this, and then it has the pupil, which is the color part, and the iris is the black part. The iris is actually a hole. So this is the color here. And that's sitting inside that eye socket. It looks pretty big, actually. Like you could, if you wanted to draw in that eyeball, probably like that big, roughly. But what we see, because there's eyelids over it, usually the eyelids sit just on the edge of the pupil, like that. And that's why we get sort of that almond shape around the eye. So we don't have to draw the eyeballs in this one, but we sort of need to sort of think about where they are. So when we draw our curves for our eyes, we know where to put everything. Okay. Now there's a little trick to eyes to get them right. A lot of people do just that curve, like that, and then draw their eye in, which is fine. But most eyes, you can usually break down into the top part is 3 even angles, and then the bottom one, like where the nose is a short angle and then a long angle. So on this side, it's short and long that way. 1, 2, 3. And then if you just sort of curve those a little bit, that'll get your eye shape in. So that was right at the bottom of the page. So it doesn't really matter too much today, but just sort of have a practice and see what you can get in that eye area. Try and get your eyes roughly the same size. Rub out that. Just some simple eyes. You could put in a line at the top for the eyelid, because that sort of shows where the eyeball is too. That little eyelid line sits on top of your eyelid usually. And then above that, following, sitting on top of the eyebrow line. Actually, if you even like touch your face, touch your eyebrow, just gently, you don't want to poke yourself in the eye, but you can feel how the eyebrow is hard underneath. That's the top of the eye socket up here. Because then if you come down, close your eye, if you come down from your eyebrow, you can sort of feel very gently where your eyeball curves. And that's where the socket is, that's the hole. And then underneath your eye, down on this bit here, this is actually your cheekbone, the top of your cheekbone. So, you know, look in a mirror, look at other people's faces, and touch your own face and compare that to pictures of skeletons and things. And that way you'll start learning how to draw the body and how it moves and how skeletons work underneath the faces that you're drawing. Because it's important to know the skeleton that's underneath this, because that's how you start off drawing it. We start off drawing the cranium and the jaw, which is the skeleton of the face. So we need to know where those things are. So on that little ridge above, just draw a line. That's sort of where the eyebrow is going to fit. You can draw that on both sides. And if it helps, because if you run your finger from your eyebrow down the little ridge between your eyes, which is the bridge of your nose, and then down the side of your nose, it sort of comes down like this. You don't have to draw this all joined up, but that's sort of the line fits that way. So you could add in some thickness to your eyebrows. Make them hairy if you wanted to, make them thin, make them big and bushy. Totally up to you, totally up to the kind of person that you're trying to draw. And then you don't have to draw these 2 lines in there. So I might even rub out that middle line. I usually keep at least one of those lines in, just a little bit, or even do shading on down one side of the nose. But then down on the bottom of the nose, I might draw in the nostrils like that. Some people draw like a little shine on the nose, depends on, you know, how you're going to shade it, things like that. And now, because we've done the eyes and the nose, we can sort of think about the cheek area. Like this whole bit here is the cheek, or the cheekbone, as we told you about, is right up here. Top of it's there, and then bottom of it's about there. So if you wanted someone to have cheekbones showing, you'd sort of bring the face in like that. It sort of makes them look a bit thin as well. Like if you suck in your cheeks, And then you look at your face, yeah, you can see your cheekbones sticking out there. Or if someone who's very thin, you can usually see their cheekbones. So you don't have to put those in, but they are there. So you sort of have to know that they're there underneath your drawing. Just going to rub out a little bit here. So we're going to do the mouth. I'll zoom in a little bit more. So easy way for the mouth to be drawn is a lot of people have a little, draw it over here. In the middle, they have a little dip in their lips, like comes down like that. So I usually draw that V as the dip, and then I curve it over with a little kick at the end. Do that on both sides. It's sort of like a, you know, when you draw like a bird in the sky, one of those little M-shaped birds, like that. Well, this one's a bit longer than that side. So that's the mouth hole, basically. And then the lips at the top. So I do another little V at the top. And then you can join that up like that. And there's your top lip. And then for the bottom lip, usually curves in like this and then around. But everyone has different shaped lips. Some people have big puffy lips. Some people have very thin lips. Some people have a wide mouth. So, and you don't always want to draw big lips like that on every character, even though everyone has lips. Usually when they're drawn, they look like lipstick. Depends on how you color them too. So sometimes people only draw a top lip, or they only draw a bottom lip. They won't draw both unless they're drawing a woman with makeup, or it could even be a man with makeup. So you could just do a line. You could do just that curve. I might rub this out a little bit. So what I'm going to do in here, I'll just do a bit of a curve. And sort of the wider it is and the higher it is, sort of looks more like a smile. If I'm just going to do a line, that's a very wide mouth. I'm just going to do a line like that, make that a bit smaller. I will also do a bit of shading underneath, as if it's shading under here. So I'll just do it here without even drawing any of the lip, like that. So it just gives an indication that there's a lip there. And you see, I just smudged it with my finger. That's another little trick you can use to add some shading. Just use a little, I'll do it over here. Just rub your finger on there, and that smudges it. But you do get a dirty finger from it, so just be wary. So there we go. That's the face so far. Sometimes people have a big chin, and so you can have the chin there with a little cleft in it. Or maybe it's just a very square chin. It could be a very rounded chin, pointy chin. Everyone's different. So the next step is drawing the ears. So if you actually get two fingers like this, oh, I'm trying to show you on the screen, two fingers like this and measure your ear. So put your pointer finger on top of your ear and the thumb on the bottom of your ear, and then slide them around to the front of your face. Try and keep them level. You'll find that that gap that you sort of find where the ear is, when you slide it across the front, it sort of fits between your eyebrows and under your nose. So if we use those as markers for the side of the face, under the nose, between the eyebrows, we have these areas here. I'm just going to draw them as little squares. Those areas are where the ear is going to fit in. So you don't have to fill that whole area. You can make it a bit smaller. So maybe the ear is a bit thin there. That's where the lobe is, and curves up like that. Zoom in on that for you. Some people might have very sticky out ears, but also depending on the kind of hair you're going to draw, if any, you might not see the character's ears at all. Just put a few little lines in there. If you look at an ear or feel your ear, you can feel that there's like a ridge at the top of cartilage where it curves in, and then down here is where the hole is inside your ear. And then we want to do that for the other side as well. So big curve at the top, small curve at the bottom, but some people have, you know, really big earlobes, so they might have a big curve, or they might have you know, big holes in them where they've got their plugs in their ears, like that, or even just having jewelry there. It's got a lopsided eye. His eye's a bit low. Okay. So how is everyone going so far? Let's hold up your drawings and let's see what you've got. Oh, cool. Wow. Wow, these are really good. Hang on, we've got another page of people. Wow, everyone's doing so well. That's great. There's so many different faces too. There's some that look like old man faces, some that look like young faces. Oh, wow. They're great. If you do have a filter on to blur your background, it sometimes messes up with the drawing. So you might have to turn it off for a second. Aruj, do you have a question? Got your hand up there. But they were really good, everyone.
Look at my face. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, it's great. I like the earrings on it too. It's really cool. We're about to move on to hair, which is a bit hard, but yeah, no, that was great. All right, so with hair, so we have, this is the middle point down here between the eyes. If you find the halfway point between middle and the top of the head, which is roughly there, that's going to be a guideline. You don't want to make the hair come lower than that. And what I mean by the hair is the hairline. So the hairline is going to sort of be up above that. And sometimes they have a straight or slightly curved hairline. Sometimes it comes down to a point. Depends on kind of person. So with the hairline, it usually starts at the front, goes back, sort of here, it's sort of to the side of the head a bit. And then around the temple, which is the part of the head that's just near the eye, around here, so just above the temple, the hair comes back in and then goes back towards the ear. So I'll just shade that in just so you can see. You don't have to actually shade yours in. So just sort of these areas. My head's not quite big enough, but that's just the hairline. So when you're drawing hair, say this guy had a fringe, then you might draw some hair that sort of goes up and it goes to the front of that, and then the hair's going to sort of come off that hairline. But also what a lot of people do is they just draw their hair straight on the top of the head. But if you just touch your hair, just gently touch the top of your hair, you can feel that if you then push down, it's not, well, if you've got a shaved head like Maxwell, there doesn't have much room there, I've just noticed. But usually your hair has some volume in it and it's up above your skull. So the hair isn't flat on your skull like that. Your hair is actually up here, depending on the kind of haircut you have. So if I was going to do this guy with a part in his hair, I might draw some shapes, make his hair sort of come up like that. I'll keep that curve in there, give him some other fringy bits like that. And on this side, might come up a bit. Maybe it's long on top and short at the back. So it sort of gets shorter as it gets down near his ears. Like that. So I'm just drawing the lines in. I'll show you some other hair, different hairstyles, probably on a different day because we're running out of time on this one. So I just rub out those head lines just so you can see where I put the hair. So hair like that. So I can then come along and do some hair that's sort of coming back like that. And then up here, the hair is going to be coming out from that part on either side. And then even up from here, coming down. This one's coming down. So you can do whatever hairstyle you like, but this is a sort of an easy one to show for today. I'm just going to shade that back in. So you can even try and draw your own hair on that face. His eye now, I'm looking at this eye, it's really low. It's really good, Aslan. Oh, Aslan, I just realized you're here from last term. I didn't notice. There are a couple of people now that I'm looking. There's a couple of people from last term as well. So the next thing I would do from that is bring in the neck. And the neck is roughly the same width as the jaw, sometimes a bit thinner. You can sort of just come down like that. Okay. So I'm just going to change pencils because mine's getting blunt. All right. We've got to do a bit more anatomy. We've got about 20 minutes left. Okay. So I'm going to move away from the head. We're going to turn our page around so it's portrait. So it's that way, long ways that way, not landscape, portrait. So my short end of my paper is on the top and the bottom, and the long side is on the left and right. First thing, let's draw a line through the middle of that page. Okay, I'll zoom right out so you can see. So just draw a line like that. That's going to be the line that goes through the body. We're going to draw a full body, head, body, arms and legs. And hopefully that'll help you in the future. And we will expand on this as the weeks go on. So we don't want to draw the head too big because we want to fit the whole body in. Usually a body is roughly 7 to 8 heads high. So if you draw the head, say this is the head there, then I've got to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's going to be off the page. So I need to draw it smaller than that. So I'm just going to draw a small circle, and I'm going to put the jaw in as well. I'm not going to put any detail on the face for this one because we just did that, but just so I know how big the head is. And then if you measure the head, just with your fingers, go 1, move it up a bit, 1, 2, 3, 4, and put a line there. That's about halfway down the body, because the rest of that is legs. Actually, let's go 1, 2, 3. Make it 3.5, maybe. So it looks a bit long. 3.5 heads down to there, and then another 3.5. So I'll measure the head, and then I'll come down here and go 1, 2, 3.5 to there. That is how tall my character is going to be. From the top of the head And this will be the bottom of his feet. That's good. Pommy 33. Is that your name? Oh, sorry, I just didn't see that your message there, Alex. What was it? Yeah, a new page would be good for this one. Sorry, Jason's already answered that too. Because you don't want to draw things too small. But if you're using spare paper, then use front and back. If you're using a book, you don't want to just do one tiny thing on a page. So try and use up the page a bit more. All right, so on this one, we won't worry about the, I gathered that wasn't your name, Pommy 33, but that's all it's written there, so I don't know what your name is. We're not going to worry about the bottom section for now. We're just going to focus on the top section. So we want to get the shoulders in. Well, we'd have the neck coming down, so we can draw that in a little bit. Okay, Luke, I gotcha. You can change the name at the bottom of the screen usually in Zoom to whatever your actual name is, so I don't call you by the wrong name. So we'll put in a little bit of the neck there, and then we'll draw a line across. This is going to be the shoulders. Now the shoulders, like we could just draw them forever. How wide are these shoulders going to be? Usually, depending on if the character is a big superhero character or a bodybuilder, usually the shoulders are as wide as the head, two heads, I should say. So if I measure the head, I'm just using my pencil as a guide. It's roughly that big, the head. So I'll bring that over to the middle, and I know that one shoulder is going to be about there. I'll measure the head again, it's about there, and I'll move it to the middle, and then, oops, know that it's about there. So that's how wide my shoulders are going to be. So you measure from one side of the head to the other, and then whatever length that is, I'll do it again. So from the tip of my pencil to there, and then bring that to the middle line, and you'll see that I've made a mark there. So a head is rough, the shoulders are roughly 2 heads wide. Now that's where the shoulders are going to be. So we can sort of put in a curve for those shoulders. And you can add a bit of an angle from the shoulders up to the neck. So you should have something that looks like that. Now this works for male and female characters. I'm just going to draw a basic figure. We're not going to push the male shape or the female shape because there isn't necessarily one. Traditionally, men, like even superhero men, are sort of angular like that, and women are a bit more, they say, an hourglass figure. If you know what an hourglass is, an egg timer kind of thing, or a sand timer. So that's the shoulders and the hips. The shoulders, and then men have narrow hips. But depending on the kind of exercises and stuff you do, how fit you are, changes the shape of your body. So men could be shaped like this and women could be shaped like this. So coming down the body, what did we say it was? 3.5 heads, I think it was. 1, 2, roughly about 2.5 heads down is where we want. So I'm trying to get this in light. So that's about 2.5 down this line, 2.5 heads. We want to add in the rib cage, which it doesn't go all the way up to the shoulders, comes in a little bit. Keep it roughly symmetrical, and it should fit the head inside pretty well. So that's where we're going. This is the middle line, just for reference. This is the 3.5 heads. And then while we're at it, we're going to draw in the pelvis. So that's where your hips are, and it's where your legs are connected to. Now, if you put your hand on your side and feel where your ribs stop just on one side, and mark that with your thumb, and then move your fingers down to feel where your hip starts. And it's only a small area in between there. So we don't want to draw the hips way down here. There's only a small gap in between the edge of the hips, edge of the rib cage and the hips. So your hips are sort of shaped a bit like a butterfly, sort of like that. But you can just do a square if you want. But this is sort of how they are shaped, roughly. It looks like a butterfly. And then your sort of your hips pop out from there. So we can bring the body down, and then we have our hips there. This is if we're drawing skin on the outside now, not just the skeleton. So this, like I said before, this is where your heart is in the middle here, and your lungs fill up that space. You have your diaphragm up that way. And then in this area is where you have all your intestines down the bottom, your stomach, your liver, pancreas, kidneys at the back. Most of your organs are down in this belly part. Now, your rib cage actually comes up at the front. You can sort of feel that around. Rib cage comes up to here, roughly. Roughly to sort of where your diaphragm is. The diaphragm sits under your lungs and helps you breathe. Like that. So you don't see the rib cage usually. Like if someone's skinny and they suck their belly in, you can see this part of the rib cage, and the ribs are up in there. And up further, we have the chest or the pectoral muscles. Also, on a female, you have the breasts. Sometimes on an overweight man, you have breasts as well. So the pectoral muscle on male and female starts under the arm, sort of where the shoulder meets the body. So under here. And it's roughly square, sort of rounded square shape. Let's sort of fit that in like that. And at the top of the pectoral muscle, up the top here, is the collarbone. So you can feel that bone that's in your neck, and it has like a little U shape in the middle. It's a bit like that. And then you have your nipples. Does that make sense? Okay. Oh, we're running out of time. All right. So just going to rub out this pelvis for a little bit, so we can talk abdominal muscles or a six-pack. So this area, well, where the hips hit the body, there's usually a bit of an angle comes in like that. That goes down to the crotch or the groin. And then in this section is where you have your abdominal muscles or your abs. So what I usually do is you already should have a line down the middle of that. I find the middle of it, which is about there, and that is where I put the belly button. So the middle of this sort of oval. And then the abs are called a six-pack. That's because there's most of the time 6 visible abs. So you usually have 2 at the top, 4 at the top, and 2 at the bottom. So if you, just to make it easy, we'll divide that in half through the belly button. So there's 1, 2. Then up here, we need to go like that. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you could curve those off to make them look more like more like muscles and things. If you wanted them to be prominent and just show off the abs. Alex, have you got a question? Do you want to unmute Alex and ask your question? Nope. I can only ask you to unmute, Alex. I can't actually unmute you myself. I will continue. All right, so I'm just going to pull out a bit. There you go. Press Alt-A to unmute, is what Igor has said. You got it? You can type your question if you want. If you don't want to actually speak on camera, that's fine. I will move on while you're asking a question then. So the arms, because we need to put the arms in. Your arm, when it's just laying next to your body like that, your hand usually comes to about crotch level or a little bit lower. So let's draw a line and a bit of a U shape. Now that's going to be the hand. So zoom in on that. That'll get the hand in. And then we can see the length of the arm. So this is the wrist where the hand stops. It goes all the way up to the shoulder. So from the shoulder to the wrist, we want to find halfway out there. That's going to be where the elbow is. So we want to get in, I probably need to make the shoulder a little bigger. Shoulder's going to come down a bit like that. Shoulder, then we have bicep. How long have I drawn for? I've been drawing pretty much my whole life. Like in the last lesson, we were drawing numbers and letters with arms and legs on them. That's something I'll show you. Like these kind of things. This is what I would do when I was a little kid. That's how I learned my letters and numbers, was making them into things like that. There's a C for cow. So that's how I started. I've been drawing as long as I could pick up a pencil, basically. And I've had a job as an animator before, so I've made animated movies and cartoons, things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of, thanks for the applause. There's a lot of, I've been doing a lot of drawing, and I'm 40, almost 45 in a few weeks. So yeah, I've been doing it for about, say, over 40 years I've been drawing. Anyway, back to this, because we're about to run out of time. We've got 5 minutes. Shoulder, bicep, then we've got our sort of inside elbow, and then your forearm. If you look at your forearm, see if I can actually put my forearm in here. Oh, it's covered in tattoos, but okay. You can see how my forearm over here, sorry, on this side of my forearm, when I zoom back out, I can't hold the camera. See how it's got a bit of a curve on this side, but on the side with the pencil, it's straighter, and the side without the pencil, it's got a bit of a curve in it. Can you see that? Look at your own forearm as well. You can see that. So what I was trying to show you, there's my arm, sort of a straight on this side. I had a bit of a curve like that. And this is my hand, my fingers, and then this is my inside elbow. So that's what we want to have on our arms there. A bit of a curve and a straight. So from the wrist, you can sort of give it a bit of a curve out like that. But on one side, it's sort of a bit straighter. And it's going to join up with the body there, so we can't really show too much detail. If the arm was out, we could draw it slightly different. But for now, yeah, I could draw Goku. I've done it before in these classes. For now, just copy the arm that you drew on this side. Copy it onto that side, so you know where the elbow is, we know where that bicep is, and then arm coming down. If you want to see more of my drawings, there is a link on the Brilliant Kids, the timetable for this. But if you just type in Art Noobs on Instagram, I'll just write that down for you. So it's ARTNEWBS, Art Noobs. On Instagram or even Facebook, you can find a lot of my artwork. I do a lot more cartoony stuff. Okay, we're gonna go a couple minutes left, but that's right, we've only got legs to go. We won't cover hands today because they're too difficult, and we won't cover feet. So if you look at just the bottom section, so from our 2.5 heads mark to the bottom where we were going to draw a feet, if we draw from those circles we put in the hips, just lines coming down slightly inwards as well. So they're getting a bit closer together. So they're wider up here, closer together down there. And then at the bottom, we can draw slight triangles for feet. I don't draw a lot of anime because I'm not that big into anime, especially not the most recent stuff. I like the older anime like Evangelion and Sailor Moon and Cardcaptor Sakura. You draw a lot of cookies. What's another anime? Some really old Astro Boy I like too. I was never really into Dragon Ball. All right, so from the hip to the foot, find halfway, roughly there, put a circle in. Yeah, it's roughly halfway. That's a bit high. That's going to be the knee. Did that one a bit low. So halfway is the knee. I like drawing mostly animal creatures like mutants, like the Ninja Turtles and things like that, half human, half animal. Because I like cartoon characters like Bugs Bunny and all that. And they're usually animal human characters. They're called anthropomorphic characters. Again, like we did on the arm, where we had a curve and a straight, we're going to do that on the thighs as well. So from the knee, we might curve it out this way and join it up to the body. And then on the inside, we'll keep it a little straighter but angled up to the groin. Let's put in a little curve there in the groin. We'll do that on the other leg as well. Straight on the inside, slight curve on the outside, join it up. I read a bit of manga, mostly video game like manga, like Zelda. I've got a Kirby one, I've got a Mario Brothers one, and I've got some horror manga too. Jujutsu Kaisen, I've heard of that. I don't think I've read that. Oh, I've got another one called, oh, I can't remember what it is, but it's all animals, beasts something. It's on Netflix as well. Okay. So the bottom of the leg, which is the calf muscle, about halfway from the knee to the foot, I'm going to put a mark because One Piece, don't like One Piece. You're going to put the calf muscle. So usually like the forearm, the shin at the front. So this is a leg now. That's the foot. Shin is usually straight. There's the knee. The calf muscle is at the back. So it's where you get that rounded calf, unless you've got skinny legs. And then down to your heel. So that halfway mark is going to be roughly where the bottom of the calf muscle is. So you can put in a rough circle, an oval, I should say, just to give it some shape. And then as it comes down, sort of draw around the calf or that curve, put a little angle in for the knee, around the calf muscle, down to the foot. And we won't worry too much about the foot. I'll just zoom in again for this next one so you can see what I'm doing. So put a little angle in for the knee, like that. Then I'm going to come down for a curve around the calf muscle, down to the foot, and at the back, I'll bring that down all the way to the heel, and then the foot. So the toes will be in there too, but we're not going to worry about that today. And we're actually over time. Haiku, Demon Slayer. Okay. Oh, that's cool, Luke. That's good. Yeah, everyone, let me have a look because we are out of time. Everyone, show your bodies. That's cool. Oh wow, there's some really good ones there. Everyone's done such a great job.
Johan,
Yeah.
can you unblur the background because we can't see?
Yeah, if you've got a filter on to hide your background, we can't really see the drawing. Wow. Those are really good.
That was really good.
That's amazing.
That's really good.
So before next week, you could practice drawing that skeleton that we drew, this one, drawing that in different poses, and then try and draw the muscles over the top. So I'll draw one really quickly. I know we're out of time, but just say you wanted someone sitting down or even leaning against a wall. There's the wall. There's the head. You could draw your stick skeleton with the rib cage, pelvis, and maybe they've got one leg against the wall, one leg sort of down here. So see how I've just used that rough skeleton? They could have a hand in their pocket or something. I've used that rough skeleton we drew, this one, and drawn it in another pose with its rib cage, its pelvis, the head, and then you can build up on that using these shapes that we just learnt to draw in the arm, to draw in the chest, the leg muscles, and the face. So you can try doing some different poses before next week. I can't remember what we're doing next week. I think it might be more anatomy, advanced anatomy. Can't remember. I don't have the thing in front of me at the moment. But yeah, that is it for today. That was really good. I'm really impressed with all the drawings you guys did. It was great. And everyone seemed to catch up. Sorry if I went too fast for anyone. That was a lot of information to do in one day, in one lesson, I should say. Also, if you take a photo or a screenshot, you can send it in to Brilliant Kids and we can put all the drawings up on the website so everyone can see them and see what we do in these classes. Was there anything else, Peter?
No, that's it, I think.
That's
All
it. That's
right.
it.
Yeah, I'm going to unmute everyone to say goodbye to Mr. Evan.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.